The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, and welcome to the Happiness Jungle TV show. I am your guest host today, Cammie Baker, and I couldn't be more thrilled than to have yet another wonderful entrepreneur and coach and speaker and author, and the list goes on and on and on. This yummy woman and I met, gosh, I think about 2 years ago. We were introduced virtually through cyberspace and through a mutual friend, Cindy. Take it away and share a little something with our audience about which one of those titles are you most proud of and do you really, really want to talk about today?
Well, hello, Cammie. Thrilled to see you today. Gorgeous as always.
Thank you.
And the title that I enjoy most is the one that suits the person I'm working with at the time.
I hear that. That sounds about like me. When people say, what do you do? I say, well, depends on the day, depends on the situation, and it depends on how I need to be serving.
Exactly. And you know, when we're called to do so much that women like you and I are, you know, it's just exciting that we can share so much with so many to help others on their way to reaching their highest success.
Well, you have been a successful coach and author and mentor and speaker and all of these great things for quite some time now. Just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got started and what did you start with? Just let us know a lot about your yumminess.
Well, I started many years ago in business management, and I have worked for every different kind of company and every size company, from, you know, 2 people to hundreds, and I have totally loved managing those businesses. And of course, you're always going to be coaching people when you manage anything, because that's how excellence happens, when you help people get to their best level. Then I decided that I wanted to get into the same city with my husband. I was covering 34 locations on the West Coast, managing businesses, and he was building a power plant in Colorado. And I said, honey, if we're going to see if this is going to work, we've got to get in the same city. Well, I opened a brick and mortar business, and he semi-retired so we could get in the same city. And then we were married a year and a half later, and 20 years later, we're still happily married. And I sold my business just before the recession hit, thank you, God. I was writing a business plan for expansion. The landlord wanted to double my space and pay for the build out. That was a sweet $60K I would have gotten. And I told my husband, I said, honey, I don't think it's time to expand. I think it's time to sell, which is what we did. And then I opened my coaching practice and consulting practice. I've also gotten into the podcasting world after, I think it's a year and the next month or 2. And I am also doing retreats every month. So if anyone's interested in learning how to build your business and have a relaxing, fantastic time at a retreat location, I have one coming up in Las Vegas.
Yay! Yay! Yeah. You know, retreats are really becoming very, very popular. It seems to be that people don't want to see PowerPoints. They don't want to, you know, read a handbook anymore. They are wanting to have an experience. And that's exactly what retreats do. As a matter of fact, I plan on getting into some of those myself. So before we get into your actual retreat, talk to me about your clients. Like, who is a perfect client for you?
Well, since I'm so experienced in every type of business and almost every type of entrepreneur, I can work with anyone who's interested in business, whether they're starting out or whether they've been in business a while and they need to up-level or they need to add programs or products. And so that's what's exciting to me, is that I'm able to work with so many different types of people.
Now, when you say add products and all that, give me an example of somebody that you've worked with, like when you met them, what was going on, and then after working with you, what are some of the things that transpired?
Well, how to pick just one. Recently, I worked with a woman who had a brick and mortar business and she needed to increase her sales. And as you know, rents are really expensive in today's market. So you always have to continue to get things that you don't have to be present to sell. That is what you need to do when you need to increase your business. So we worked on several different programs that she could bring into her business and ways that she could put her business on automatic. And any business owner that owns a brick and mortar, if you can't get on automatic where things are done and you don't have to oversee everything, you can just follow up, then you're going to be spending a lot of time on things that are not making money for you.
I tell you, I started out as a brick and mortar. Well, actually, when I was 8 years old, selling gum to other kids for a profit wasn't exactly brick and mortar, but the first business that I had when I was 23, I was in Florida, and I owned a huge, it's a long story, ended up getting into this big bar right on the beach, and it was a bar and a restaurant and a pool hall and a laundromat, and there was another room that we rented out for just all kinds of stuff. And at the time, I thought, this is the be-all, end-all, and I was from the old school of, I got to be able to put my hands on it, like this is my brick and mortar, and I own this, and this is my stuff. And now that I don't have brick and mortar, I can't even imagine the overhead and the nightmare and the employees and just having to crack that monthly nut like that. So when you work with people who are in brick and mortars, because you have been in too, do you ever encourage them, hey, you know what, there's things you can do from home or there's more stuff you can do on the internet? Like, would you counsel people to let go of some of that overhead?
Well, typically there are 5 and 10-year leases for those. So they can't get out of a business like that easily unless they sell it. But in a brick and mortar, you have to be able to manage the business and the people, and you can also do other things if you can get your business on automatic, which is so easy for me to help people to do. But the other point is that you want to create things to sell that you don't have to be there to sell them.
Examples.
Well, there are all kinds of choices today with online courses, with you can do coaching in groups. You can do all kinds of things on Facebook groups. You can hire people to work with you so that you can teach them how to work with your people. I mean, it's endless today. There's so much creativity to figure out what it is that you want to do. I mean, books. At the end of this year, I'll have 12 books on sale on Amazon.
Wow. Wow. And I know that your most recent book, or I assume it's your most recent book, has to do with Alzheimer's. We've talked about that a little bit. Can you share with me what your inspiration for that book was?
Well, my husband has a history in his family of people getting Alzheimer's. 10 years ago, he started displaying symptoms and was diagnosed. And I said, it took me a long time to find you, and I am not giving you up that easily. So, my business is about solutions. Whatever I'm doing, it's always about solutions. And because I have no experience with that kind of, or any kind of really of illness, so I got busy and learned it. And everybody who meets him wants to know, what the heck am I doing? Because he's still coherent. And some people don't even live past 4 years. So I decided to write about it. And would you believe 2/3 of Alzheimer's disease will affect women? 2 out of 3 women will get Alzheimer's. I was shocked when I saw that when I researched for my book. Anyway, that information is amazing that I've created. People continue to say, you should open a place to help people. And I said, no, I don't do that, but I'm sharing everything I've done and learned so others can be benefited with their loved ones and keep them coherent as long as they can, because it certainly has worked for us.
So what are some tips that you would give people because that statistic is just astounding, 2 out of 3 of us will get Alzheimer's? I mean, What are some of the symptoms to look for? Talk to me about that, because now I want to start looking to see, like, do I need to be looking out for this?
Well, it's confusion. When, the way that I learned about my husband was we were at a timeshare in Sedona, and we were having dinner with friends because two or three couples went together. And I was going to stay and finish my wine and have some coffee, and he wanted to go back to our timeshare. So it was just one building over, but it was windy sidewalks. And when I got home, he wasn't there. And I called him, thank God for cell phones, and I said, "Where are you?" And he was down at the pool because he couldn't find our timeshare. So that day I knew that we were going to have some issues with that. I immediately got a diagnosis for him and got to work on what could I do. So the two tips, I really want to share this quickly so people can learn what they can do, is the first thing you have to do is not take everything you learn for granted or for verbatim, because they tell you to do this, they tell you to do that, but that doesn't work for everybody. My husband wasn't into any of that stuff that they recommended you do. So you have to pay attention to the person and figure out what's best for them. Where are their interests? Where were their interests before they got diagnosed? And figure out what is going to work for them. The second tip is, doctors do not know everything. All they can do is give you drugs, they can give you therapy, or they can diagnose, or they can do surgery. That's it. And if you talk to them about an alternative therapy or nutritionals, they don't want anything to do with that because they have no training in that.
Now,
And
you said surgery. Is there actually surgery that they can do to help Alzheimer's?
No, but I mean, if you just think in terms of whatever your ailments are, these are the only four things that doctors can do for you. And there is a myriad of things that I've put in my book that can help people, not just with Alzheimer's and dementia, which is part of the dementia family, but with several other things to help you stay as youthful and as healthy as you possibly can, because we have to be our own best advocates for our health.
Now, when your husband was diagnosed, did you find out what it was that led up to it? Did they say it was genetic? Was it dietary? Was it drinking? Was it like, what leads up to this?
They don't know for sure, but I believe it is hereditary. And I also know that it's tied to diabetes. So if you get diabetes under control, then that's going to be, and you don't want that out of control anyway. That's a very serious disorder. And most people don't even know that they can have it checked and give themselves a 3-month history of their blood sugar. So be sure to ask your doctor to give you that A1C test so you can see if you have that, because it's not only a debilitating disease in itself, it's also a factor of, I think I read where 70% of people with Alzheimer's has diabetes.
Very interesting. So are you going to be speaking on this topic as well now that you have the book?
I absolutely am. In fact, I'm doing a radio show in the next few weeks, actually next month on it, because I'm so passionate about helping people learn that you don't just have to take what people tell you as gospel. Find your own way and, look for tools like I'm going to have a workbook also, a fill in the blank, so that people can have something in hand and just get busy on helping their loved one.
Nice. Well, it is always a blessing when people have an experience and learn from it and want to share and serve others in that experience. And so back to your entrepreneurism and your business mindset, and having had all these businesses and helping your clients. You have programs, you have things online, now you're having retreats. Talk to me about what we can look forward to if we go to one of your retreats.
Well, we just laid out the one for Las Vegas. And you know what? People want what they want. And so I am going to be offering a choice when people show up at the retreat and say, what is it that you want to learn? Here's the agenda, and you get a free bonus topic. So pick it. And so they get to pick what they want to learn. But of course, one of my best gifts is helping people write the outline for their book. I have helped so many people in less than an hour write the outline for their book.
Now, are there tips that you would give on that as far as how someone could get started on writing the outline for their book?
Well, I think if you're struggling with it, you need to have someone to brainstorm with, because so many people get all caught up with all the information in their head and they can't put it in format. And since I'm intuitive too, and I've written 12 books, it's just so easy for me. In fact, the last gentleman that I helped with his book, it was a children's book. He was so excited that he finally got his outline, he skipped out of the door. And he wasn't a young guy either. It was really kind of fun. But he was so pleased that he finally got his book.
Well, I can't say enough about having someone to brainstorm and mastermind with, especially somebody that I always use the analogy of a tour guide versus a travel agent. You know, a travel agent is someone who's sitting in an office and they're pointing at nice posters and they're pointing at brochures. You know, these are places I've heard of that I think you should go. Let me book that for you, travel agent. But a tour guide actually takes you by the hand and says, listen, we're going to go and we're going to see where all of the locals go. And I'm going to take you down this road and I know where the potholes are. So we're going to avoid the pothole, because if you hit the pothole, you're going to break an axle. And we're going to take this road. This road's a better view and it's actually going to get you there quicker and you'll have better vistas and all that. So it's about having a tour guide to take you where they've already been. And it's so important. I use that analogy with my clients a lot of the time that, you know, it's one thing to talk with friends about it. It's another to mastermind with an expert who's already been there and done that.
Well, that's one of my greatest gifts, is to mastermind and come up with ideas. And it's fun, you know, it's really a fun exchange. But one of the things all of the potential writers out there that are listening today can do is make a list of everything that you have interest in and everything you have experience in, and just kind of sit with that list and figure out what would you like to write about. And then when you decide what that is, your mind will not leave you alone. It'll push you until you get it written.
I know when I wrote my book, I had heard someone say one great way to do an outline would be to come up with the 10 questions that you hear the most. So whatever your expertise is. So for me at the time, it was about networking. So what are the 10 questions, or for me, the misconceptions that I've heard or misnomers that people say? What are those 10 things? And come up with those, and those are 10 chapters. And then they said, what are the 3 things that if people knew what you know, if they knew the real dirty, the detail, what you really know about that topic, what are the 3 things they would ask then? And then I came up with those, and then the stories that go with it. So.
Well, you see, that's exactly how I came up with most of my book titles, is that all the people that I've helped over the years, I've written and created books and workbooks for what they needed to be helped with. And it's so much easier now. I can just hand them a book instead of spending 3 hours explaining it. So it's a win-win.
It is. And, you know, you have such a huge arsenal of different things. You help brand new business people, longtime business people, brick and mortar, online, book writing. Like, there's so much going on for you. What's your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing to do is work with the person in front of me, because I just love diversity, and that's why I'm so experienced, because I just, you know, for me, work isn't work. A lot of people I hear, oh, it's Friday, and on, and I'm like, it's Monday. I get excited for Monday because I love what I do, and I always have.
Well, and that's the thing, you know, that's the way entrepreneurs are. I know, you know, we are the only people who will work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40. And, you know, I'm just like you. Like, I'm not sure even when it's a holiday. Like, what day is it? It's today. Like, I don't know. It's today.
And so maybe both of us should share with the audience that if you don't absolutely love what you do and get excited about Mondays, then you need to take a look at what you're doing and find something that is your juice. Because my work, I mean, I was up at 5 o'clock this morning working on my agenda for the newest thing for me, which, I mean, I've done retreats before for years, but this is a little different twist. and it's called Rock On Retreats.
Rock On Retreats. I love that name. Now, you mentioned earlier that when people get to your retreat, there's going to be different topics that they can choose from for an add-on. Give us a little taste of what those topics are.
Well, everybody wants to write a book today because they tell you if you're going to speak or be a podcaster, the book makes you an expert. So a lot of people don't know how to get started, and then when they have their idea, they don't really know how to do their outline. So that's going to be one, and if people come and they're not interested in a book, we'll have others. And the biggest thing I find that people struggle with is figuring out their goals. What should they be working on? How do they write them? And how do they achieve them? And for me, I've written 12 books in 4 years. Well, I will have by the end of this year. So I put all my secrets into one book, and I don't know if I have it here to share with you, but the one book gives all of how I did it. And that's one of the workshops that I teach, and we actually do the goals and write out how to accomplish it. And I mean, that can be done at every single that workshop, every single retreat, because who doesn't have a goal? I mean, we all need to have them to achieve what it is we want to, whether it's for personal or whether it's for business.
Let's face it, most people can't state a goal. They can tell you what they don't want, and I can even be guilty of that. It's real easy to help people understand that they want to set SMART goals, specific and measured and all that. And at the same time, it seems like most people really can only tell you what they don't want as opposed to what they do want. So tell us a few tips that you give your clients on how to write these goals so that our viewers can take away some really, pragmatic nuggets.
Well, one of the biggest issues is we're all caught up in our lives and we don't take time to breathe. That happens with most everybody, even me. And so you have to get out of your element. So that's why a retreat is perfect, because you can get outside of your day-to-day and all the crap that we go through in life, because we all have it. We are all driving around with, angry drivers beside us, in front of us, behind us. And so when you're at a retreat, you can just relax and enjoy your free time and really think about what it is that's important to you and what it is you want to achieve. And then at a retreat, you collaborate with people, myself and my co-host at the retreat, and just really figure out what you want to do.
Well, and that is great advice. I love to go to retreats. I love to go to seminars that are 3, 4, 5 days long. I've got 3 more before the end of the year that I'll be going to, getting on a plane, going. And another little tip, if you're going to be going to retreats and or seminars and networking outside of your city and state, get a roommate, not just to save money, but to build relationship. The last event that I went to in Scottsdale, my roommate was Shay Vaughn, who is Vince Vaughn's mother, and she was fabulous. And she has her own network that she does, a whole network that's seen by 30 million people. And we talked about me doing a show with her. And none of that would have happened if we hadn't have been in that room together, like literally going to sleep together. And I mean, separate beds, but having a great time getting to know one another. So just a little tip from me to the audience. However, Miss Cindy, not everybody can go on a retreat. Not everybody can pack up and go do that. So for those of our viewers who are, at home right now watching this show, and, they've got kids pulling at them and jobs and things going on where they can't take off, what are some things that they can sit down at the kitchen table and actually put into practice to get their goals laid out?
I have loved cheat sheets since the very beginning of time. And every single thing that I work on, I create a book, a workbook, or a cheat sheet of sorts. So if you are looking for things to help you in your life or in your business, you can go to my website and just click on books. It's my first and last name.com, and there's one section for just books. Now the 2 that I'm working on right now are not there yet because they're in the hands of my editor, and they will be there by the end of the year. But the ones I talked about, goals, and my newest one, Insights from an Intuitive, all of 12 different topics of what I've told people over the years, my quotes. They'd say, "Oh, that's good. I need to write that down." And I thought, hey, I need to write my own stuff down. So that's how that book happened. But, I mean, you just have to pay attention to your life to figure out what you need to write about. And so you can get a lot of great information on those books, and just for the price of a book, and it'll make a huge difference for you if you're trying to achieve goals or want to be inspired or need a workbook for whatever it is that you're working on. I have a planner because I think I can show you that maybe. You know, when I was in business for other companies, they would always send us to think tanks and business trainings, and I could never get a planner that could help me get all my work done. So I developed my own, and it's got several different categories, and that's another secret as to how I get so much done.
I remember putting together a planner too when I was in a business a few years ago that was really specific to that type of business. Well, we've got a couple of minutes left, Miss Cindy. So who are some of your favorite mentors that have inspired you over the years?
You know, my very first one I learned about when I was 18 years old, Earl Nightingale. And he is an amazing human. I wish he were alive. I would go listen to every single thing he said, every word, because he really helped form my belief system and my core values with so many things. So if you can get a hold of anything he's done, then Earl Nightingale is the guy. And so that positive motivational arena is just juice. You know, if you haven't tasted it, then drink the Kool-Aid.
I had Earl Nightingale lead the field in one of the big packs of cassettes. And there were like 6 cassettes in a fold thing. And I had those in my car when I first got involved in personal development. Oh gosh, about 15 years ago, I had cassettes in my car. That's how long ago it was. And I'll never forget Earl Nightingale's voice.
The same one. That's what I started on. And of course, you know, all the other greats, I love them all. And whenever I can get a hold of anything, I met Jim Rohn in person years and years ago. And, you know, all of them are just fantastic.
Well, it has been my pleasure to have you on. You know, Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins, and there was a cassette that I watched or listened to back in the day, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway with Susan Jeffries. And now we have Cindy Hendricks that we can listen to, read, and have be our mentor, because a mentor isn't necessarily somebody that's physically with us. It's anyone that we listen to and aspire to think the way that they do. So CamiBaker.com here, thanking you for being a part of the Happiness Jungle. We are happy, and it is a jungle, but that's okay because we're happy anyway. See you on the next episode.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.